All right, welcome to the first ever ADCC Update Show. This is the show where, you're going to get all the best updates, all the best information from your favorite FloGrappling fellas. I'm Trey. I'm going to be hosting things down there. We got Papa Reid, Uncle Joey, and then just Corey down here at the end. But basically, Euro Trials just kicked off. Obviously, we were all tuning in, waking up bright and early to watch that. And there's a few big things coming out of that. This is also kind of the kickoff to like the legitimate ADCC season. So I just want to talk with you guys, see what you guys thought. So I mean, let's just kick things off. Corey, what was some of your main takeaways?
Yeah, man. We got to talk about Joseph Chen first, right? Like 77 in every ADCC trials is always the most stacked division, right? It's always the one that fills up first. 77 was, in my opinion, the most competitive division at ADCC last time around 2022. So only proper that 77 kilograms had, I think, 5 ADCC veterans in there. And Joseph Chen took out 3 of them, back to back to back in his last 3 matches. Oliver Taza in the final lap was a wild match, one of my matches of the year.
What do you had? Taza was in there.
Tommy was a semifinal, and Mateusz Szyszynski.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
Do you guys think, because I keep seeing people post this now, do you think this was the most impressive trials run ever? Not just Euros, just in general.
I think J-Rod going all submissions through North American trials is still more impressive, but this is no doubt the most impressive Europeans performance we've ever seen.
Totally.
And Joseph definitely was so kind of, obviously people in the know about Joseph, but I feel like he's a little bit more under the radar. And like you said, when you have Taza and you have Tommy and Mateusz, guys who've actually been to the big show, I feel like maybe not a whole lot of people were picking Joseph, so that's what just makes it so much sicker too. Is that because like he just went out there and just lit everybody up?
Absolutely.
It's not even like they went. They went and did well. Tommy was in the quarterfinals. Mateusz was in the quarterfinals at ADCC Worlds. Like these are like very legit guys that didn't just win a trials, go over, have their one match. These guys have the capability of like medaling at ADCC. Tommy Longacher is one of the best in the world. We had him ranked 5th coming in, and Joseph killed him. I mean,
9-0 or
9-0, passes guard twice.
And I think like there's a lot to say about the Tommy match, and the Taza match, of course, was wild. But don't forget about the Mateusz match too, because Mateusz had a mental win over Joseph going in, right? Mateusz broke his leg last time, or hit him with a mean ankle lock. Mateusz has one of the scariest ankle locks in ADCC. He won his first match at ADCC over William Tackett with that just gnarly straight foot lock.
Everybody knows it's coming, too.
Yeah.
But he can still just wreck people with it.
So
Yeah,
I think
feel like I hear everyone talk about how like Mateusz is the scariest dude because he's just breaking everyone's ankles.
Oh, nothing to do with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Who would you rather have a match against, Mateusz or Big Dan, Reid?
I just default out. I had injury timed out on that one.
Well, a dude who wasn't afraid of Big Dan, Heike Jusela.
Stuff happened, yeah.
The Finn, the big Finn, won it last time at plus 99. We had both trials winners from the last cycle in this bracket. They met in the finals. They went to overtime, and Heike just played the match right, got big takedown attempts, didn't end up scoring, but got the win over Big Dan. It was crazy impressive. 2-time ADCC qualifier.
it's easy to kind of count a guy like Heike out, especially after watching the Big Dan show that has been the ADCC Opens in all of the last 6 months, right?
Right out there. He's been killing it. He's been swinging everybody in the ADCC Opens. Like, he had a target on his back.
Especially like looking at Heike's last performance, he got mauled by Gordon Ryan. Who doesn't? But you have that to compare against, right? Gordon's training partner versus somebody who lost to Gordon first round at ADCC. On paper, pretty easy. You go with the guy who trains with the guy who beat the last guy, But Heike came out and showed that he deserves to be there. He deserves to be at ADCC. Beating Big Dan is no joke, especially how often he's competing in the ADCC Opens.
Dude, Heike's an interesting dude too, because I don't know much about him. I know last year he obviously kind of had like the Gordon call out. He wanted Gordon first round and everything. But now it's like everyone's talking about how he's a part-time guy. He works a 9 to 5. Just this Finnish guy who wears an all-blue rash guard and shorts. We got to get this guy a new kit. I will say that. Been rocking the same kit for too long.
No, he needs to stick with this. Now it's lucky.
Well, what if he hits like a new evolution? He comes like all black. Or something,
he needs
He's an all red one, an all yellow version.
Yeah.
No, what my favorite part about Hecky there is that how after in the post-match interview, he said that he was like, yeah, even I didn't expect to win gold coming out of here. So he was like very honest about it. Just about because Big Dan's been looking incredible. Definitely looked like he maybe got a little tired there. Obviously, going over to Poland and stuff like that is a trek. But so we'll probably see Big Dan in East Coast trials now.
For sure. I just saw he posted his registration. He just registered.
There you go.
So yeah, you know, that's the fun thing about these East Coast about these trials. Is like a lot of these guys who didn't qualify over there in Poland are going to be trying again, of course, and maybe going to be trying the East Coast, maybe going to be trying West Coast. We're going to see a bunch of these guys get 2-3 tries at punching their ticket to the big show. It's an important one, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and there are a couple other guys in Europe that impressed me that I think will move into the East Coast trials. Oliver Taza's another one, right? Taza had a great run. Taza will do trials till he gets it, basically. He's got 4 chances. Yep. I think East Coast is going to be another really difficult one when we look at who's in at 77, where he's going to be throwing his name in again.
Mm-hmm. Who impressed you? Trey, obviously a bunch of big names out there punched their ticket, but...
Yeah, I think there's obviously some like super impressive storylines. I think Joseph Chin kind of stole the show. But to be honest, like if Joseph Chin hadn't have pulled that out and pulled off one of the craziest, like ran through that gauntlet basically, then I think the talk would be on that Owen kid. Kind of came out of nowhere. Just dude looks like a proper lad, if I may say so myself. Like whenever I picture a lad grappler, this is the kid I picture. You know, he seemed like he had so much energy, was so exciting. Everyone was cheering for him there. He had a huge crowd going for him.
For sure.
It was kind of awesome. So he ended up beating Ash Williams, right, to advance into the
beat some legit guys.
Yeah. Beat Eagle, beat Ash Williams, beat Cameron Donnelly, B-team guy in the finals, who Cameron was also had beaten another previous trials winner, Sam McNally, leading up to that, leg locked him really early, which was crazy impressive. And then, Owen Jones, they had a nice little like young guy on young guy final there, and he looked incredible, picked up the win.
You know, what's an interesting point about just kind of how unknown Owen Jones was coming into this. I asked a couple of our guys out in Europe, like, okay, who are the guys that we aren't paying attention to that we should? Owen Jones was on none of their lists. Like, he wasn't even a dark horse among Europeans. He was a completely unknown factor. And that's how cool trials are, right? You always get not just this unknown guy that comes out of nowhere and beats the guys that have the big names, the Sam McNallys, the Robert Deagles, the Ash Williams, but also they're always, or they at least always seem to be, like teenage 19-year-old kids coming out there, endless gas tank, just this incredible like vigor to beat the guys. And Owen said it himself, like, Joseph Chen a little bit stole his day. Owen was the youngest trials winner for 15 minutes, right? But yeah, those 19-year-old kids, those are the ones you got to watch out for at trials, right? They have just the cardio to do 5 12-minute matches.
Yeah, I love this dude's style. And, especially that 66-kilogram division. It just is primed for these new guys who are just kind of trying to make their name for themselves. I feel like every year, 66 division just like has like 3-4 new guys that we've never heard of that are just out there killing it. It seems like a fun dude. Loved his post-match interview and everything. He's out there partying, celebrating it. We'll have to visit this dude and visit some of these guys out in the UK and stuff, because guys are making waves.
Dude, it kind of seems like at this point, and obviously there's some outliers, some people that literally just won, like Heike, who will go against this. But dude, it seems like you got to be just 19 and freaking just full of energy.
To win 6 matches in a row, like you kind of do. Like, as you keep getting older and older, heavyweight's its own thing. But, like, by the time you can see guys 4 or 5, even, in that 6th match, it's a little bit of attrition, right? It's a little bit of, like, who still really wants to be there and who has that little extra oomph to get over the finish line. And the young guys are always going to get that done. What are you smiling about?
And the 88 champion, Santeri Lilius, called that out himself, right? He's like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm 30 years old. Yeah. Like, all right. I mean, you're right.
Nobody out there feels too old.
I don't know. If your master's eligible.
Yeah. But man, Santeri, huh?
Yeah.
He's just king of the 88-kilogram division, man. Like, he's just out there holding it down. Be him.
He seemed like out of all the champions, it seemed like he kind of was the dude who just cruised the most. Didn't have any crazy highs or Luke as well. I guess you're right. Yeah. But for sure, it seemed like Santeri was just kind of it was his day and kind of he knew it.
And one thing that really impressed me in the lead up to trials with Santeri is, okay, he won in 2022 at the 2022 trials. He looked very good. Convincing that he deserved it. But I wasn't. We haven't seen him up against somebody in the highest caliber, really, in the the kind of the world spectrum here until his match with Nicky Ryan. And seeing how he was able to flow and work and kind of play jiu-jitsu with Nicky Ryan at Quintet was a good reminder that like he's right there, right? Some of these Euro guys that we don't see because they're not the guys who travel to Europe, like the Tazas and the Josephs and the Big Dans and the Lukes, like the guys that are in Europe, training in Europe, doing jiu-jitsu in Europe. When we finally get to see them up against Nicky Ryan, it's like, oh shit, you're right at that level, and it puts it all in perspective. And Santeri is one of those guys now that you see what he does at trials the second time around, saying he's undefeated at ADCC trials, which is true. But yeah, he's right there. He's a contender level guy in that 88 division.
If you haven't seen any of Santeri's matches, they're all on the website. Probably for me the most impressive was his semifinal against Chris Wojcik, where he passed with like no time left on the clock to pick up that win. Chris, to me, I think might have been like the second best guy in that bracket. He's medaled at ADCC North American trials before. And for him to do that in that match with such late time left, it was really well managed. It was really well executed. Santeri's a stud. 2 Finnish trials champions. It's unusual, right? Him and Heikki are both Finnish guys. So Finland, man, great trials, great job.
Scandinavians in general looked great, I think, at that tournament. Obviously Tommy and all those guys, they're building a big team. Tarek had a tough loss, but all those guys from those countries are just killing it out there.
Dude, I feel like all those dudes too, maybe right now just because I'm riding the high of European trials and everything, but I just feel like I'm so fascinated right now with like the European jiu-jitsu scene, particularly obviously like Tommy, Espen are guys like I know you visit them, Reid, and like that's probably a pretty epic trip. But now like Santeri, all these Finnish guys, like man, dude, we got to get to Europe and start like digging into some of these lives of these guys, because I think one of the craziest things is like here in North America, like let's just say Austin specifically. If you live in Austin, Texas, you have access to so much jiu-jitsu knowledge and like people who like are veterans, young studs, world champions, the greatest like it's like so much. But dude, if you live in Norway, like what do you, I don't know what their lifestyle is like, but like I assume they're just like watching DVDs and then like drilling on each other during 20 hours of darkness or whatever. Like
there's a couple guys out there. No, I totally agree though. That, like that's just such a fun part about these trials is you get like just a window into the European jiu-jitsu scene, window into the Brazilian jiu-jitsu scene, and so definitely we got to go out there and hook up with all these dudes. Owen O'Flanagan, obviously another dude who's out there just killing it. So we got to go check out some of these European guys, but we also got to mention Luke here too.
100%.
Luke's just out there, just smothering dudes left and right.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's super
100%
impressive.
submission rate. We're sitting here, we're talking about all these impressive trials winners. We haven't got a 100% submission rate. Luke Griffith, everybody on Team New Wave talks about him like he is next up, just waiting to launch, going to be one of the greatest of all time, is the phrasing they're using.
Lost a little steam, I feel like, just coming out of ADCC last time, just because
and Aika losing that match at Aika didn't help.
Just like you said, everybody's pumping Luke, and you talk to Gordon and a lot of those guys, they have such glowing things to say about him. So when he didn't do quite as well at ADCC, I think people kind of pumped the brakes on him. But just looking what he did out there at the European trials is crazy.
To hit a smother submission in the final, that's probably a first, right? I can't remember. For a trials final to hit a smother tap is incredibly impressive, especially considering the caliber of opponent he hit it against. Declan Moody is no joke. Declan Moody is legit, right? So to go out there, mount the guy, hit a smother tap in I think less than 3 minutes is
I think
incredibly
he smothered. He beat Declan the round before. He smothered Mraz Avdoyan.
Still a finalist, right?
Who is a former trials champion.
Right.
He 2019 ADCC vet, fought Patrick Gaudio, who'll be fighting Gordon Ryan October 1st. Who's #1? Tickets available now.
There we go.
Wow.
Dude, I'm gonna say
I couldn't get Mraz Avdoyan into a who's #1 plug.
I'm gonna say a hot take. I'm out on the smother choke. It's not fun to watch anymore. I mean, listen, I get it, and that's like the ultimate, it's like the ultimate, like freaking, I'm the man, and there's nothing you can do to smother somebody. I think I've just seen Big Dan do it too much at the ADCC Opens, where I'm like, man, it'd be cool to see like an arm bar, Like, I don't know. So I'm a little iffy on the smother tap. No, I'm not taking anything away. I understand how impressive it is, but it's like, it's just I'm getting bored watching it. I think.
I want an explosive move, man. what impressed me the most probably was like those back takes that Joseph Chen had against Oliver Taza in the finals.
Man.
Those back takes were like some of the slickest jiu-jitsu. Loved it.
The scrambles in that match, right, and especially that one, as soon as points start, maybe it was right at the beginning of overtime, right? They go nearly out of bounds. Joseph Chen hits that big Uchimata.
Yeah.
Taza hits the concrete, and then Taza ends up on Joseph's back. Joseph hits that Ryan Hall back take, reverses it. What a crazy exchange like that.
High level.
I feel like Joseph on the edge there, he hit the trip and they were clearly going out of bounds. I feel like Joseph was like, okay, we're going out of bounds. Let me stop here. Whereas Taza, with all that experience, was like, this is ADCC. We'll fight in the parking lot if the scramble ends up there.
Yeah.
And that's how he ended up, like, with the seatbelt. And then they ended up restarting him. And Joseph went full, Tasmanian Taiwanese devil, got to his back and kept working.
Got to see a couple of tailbones smash on that concrete in the finals, though, huh?
That's what you're into? Corey had his eyes waiting for those. He's like, oh, yeah, there it is.
But how are the tailbones doing?
I think another crazy thing about this trials, and now this is with the disclaimer that, like, to be honest, Joseph Chen is a mystery to me. I don't actually know where this guy's from. I think South African and Taiwanese, a.k.a. Chinese. And so if that's the case, I think that means there's 2 South African trials winners, which is, that's pretty insane.
That is how he qualified for this trials, is through South African heritage. So yes,
they
2
both
South Africans, 2 Finlands, 2 Finnish.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Let's go to South Africa, too.
Let's go, baby.
All
right.
It's the Drickus Duplessis effect. You have the Drickus effect.
For sure.
Great tournament, though. So pumped that ADC season is back in full effect. That's just the trials are some of the funnest parts, right? You get to see guys like Owen Jones and everybody just kind of come out of nowhere. So, just the funnest part about trials, ADC season. We're here. We're running towards ADCC World Championships in Vegas, man. Like, this is what we do it for. Hell yeah.
Less than 11 months away now, right? And actually, we're on the anniversary of
Today.
The ADCC finals. ADCC finals were a year ago today. So it just feels like ADCC season is alive. Nothing kicks it off better than trials. And looking forward to less than a month away now is the East Coast trials.
Yeah, you guys want to preview East Coast a little bit real quick?
It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
Atlantic City, baby. Couldn't be a better city in the world to have it. Atlantic City. It feels like you're in The Wire when you're driving around Atlantic City, which is really, I like that. It gives you a competitive edge. But obviously these brackets are already stacking up. We just saw, dude, if European trials was that good, that fun to watch, can you imagine what we're about to see at East Coast trials?
There's so many. Let's start with 77, just because I think, again, 77, the most competitive ADCC division there is. There's so many ADCC veterans that have been told, no, you got to go back. You got to earn your spot again, right? So 77.
Incredibly notable one, Nicky Ryan.
Nicky
right?
Ryan.
Nicky Ryan's in for East Coast trials.
Insane. Yeah, and then that's just one name. There's like 500 names.
There are 256 athletes. You are going to have to win 7 matches over a course of 2 days to be able to call yourself the winner. I think whoever wins the bracket is a 100% medal threat when we get to Vegas for Worlds. There's no way you can beat that many quality guys in a row and not be someone who's contending for top 3 podium.
Dude, just the people we know already who are going to be at ADCC, it's already going to be sick, bro. Like, if you think about 77, returning champ Cade, Mika, silver medalist, now Joseph Chen in the mix. First of all, these divisions are going to be insanely young.
Yeah.
And second of all, it's just like, dude, just those 3. If I just watched a round robin with those 3 dudes, that would be the coolest grappling event all time.
And just to talk about like the qualitative value of East Coast trials, right? Think about who won East Coast trials last year. Cade Russolo, Giancarlo Bodoni.
Champ.
I think BSM won it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Amy Campo, I think, took second to Kendall. So the quality of East Coast trials is champion caliber quality.
Yeah, it's basically ADCC light.
Right.
Like it's going to be insane. There's going to be, in that 77 kilogram division, there's like 20 names that you could pick out that could potentially win. Like, just absolutely insane. Can't wait for that tournament.
Well, these are just the names of the guys that we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we know Owen Jones going into trials? I mean, did many people know about Joseph Chen? Probably not nearly as many as
Yeah, that's the fun part, right? It's a coming out party for somebody. Somebody's going to have a big coming out party here at these East Coast trials.
Do you guys have some picks? You guys want to make some picks? Who do you think's
I
going
don't
to
know
win?
if I want to make a pick. Somebody I think is going to do really, really well is Andrew Tackett.
Yep.
I think he's somebody that you have to circle in that bracket. I think how much he's been coming on. I think his youth is something we've been talking a lot about being young and that being like a good thing. I think he's young and he's like such a dog, right? I think that a bracket like that really, really benefits him.
Yeah, there's obviously a ton of names, and we're not gonna be able to say all of them, but like, I mean, that just is a testament to how crazy these brackets are. That like we could list off 150 of the 250 people and be like, these are all great grapplers, but maybe more. But I think like some of the standouts are like Andrew Tackett, Chris Wojcik, Nicky Ryan, Troy Russell, Pierre Leclerc, Kieran Kitchik, Max Hansen. Max Hansen just won the what promotion was that?
I think it was Enigma.
Enigma welterweight belt, all subs.
All subs, beat Kieran in the finals.
Yep. Elijah Dorsey, Big Breakfast, John Combs, John Blank. So it's just like absolute murderer's row.
John Blank super tough in that bracket. Yeah. Super good. Former top 4 at ADCC. Would not sleep on John Blanc to potentially come out of there.
But you guys want to bounce over to 66? What do you guys think about 66?
66 is fun. It's a kind of another recirculation of a lot of these ADCC vets. Ethan Krellenson is one that caught my eye in there. Right, he's done so many ADCC trials. He's won several ADCC trials, I believe, at this point. So now putting a veteran back in the mix there. Get to see if he can do it again.
Including once over Nicky Ryan in the finals.
Yeah, I do remember that. But no, yeah, 66. Who else in 66?
66, I think a couple notable people are DeAndre and Gavin Corby. I think they could make some waves. That might be like a coming out party potential. Keith Krikorian, Dominic Mija, who's number 1. He's pretty sick. Fabian, obviously, a who's next alum. Yep. Richard Alarcon. Who else? You guys got anyone else?
Yeah, Gianni's the ADCC.
Gianni, yep. Johnny Grippo, Zach Kaina. So tons of names in that bracket as well. That one's going to be super interesting. I mean, all these are interesting. It's kind of like, it's crazy because like,
I feel like Grippo is like a perfect guy for us to be like he'll do well, but then afterwards we'll be like, I wasn't young enough. You know what I mean? Like, man, he's been around in these streets for a while. We're saying there's a young man's game. That's going to be tough.
Especially 66.
That's
such a specifically young man's game.
That haunted him at the last 2. I mean, maybe it wasn't particularly youth, right? But he lost to Keith at the East Coast Trials in 2021. And then in 2022, he lost to Cisneros in the semifinal.
He had a great run, for sure, at the West Coast Trials.
Yep.
Looked great, but... Yeah,
there's
young guys.
There's never a trials recently where like Keith Krikorian does not do super well.
Yeah, I have a feeling that if Keith gets on the podium at one of these next 2 trials, automatic invite, right?
Yeah,
like you don't want to bank on it, but he's hit so many finals in the last 4 or 5 years.
So then in 88, moving up to the medium-sized boys, another stacked bracket, obviously. But some of the names I'll just throw out there, and then we can mull them around, talk about them a little bit. But guys like Dory from Checkmat, JB Betchloff, Kyle Chambers, Angelo Claiborne, Sloan Clymer, Hunter Colvin, Jacob Couch, Elder Cruz, Garmo, Majid Hage, which Majid Hage at 88 is interesting.
Thick boy gorilla hands.
Yeah, we're about to see it.
Up a little bit.
Yeah. Thick boy gorilla hands. I like that. Clay Mayfield, Jason Rao, Achilles Hosha, the young guy. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
J-Rod, Benji Silva, Renee Souza, and then William Tackett bumping up to 88 this year. It seems like he's kind of, letting Andrew, like, all right, Andrew, I'll let you have 77 now, and I'm going to go 88. But
man, he's had, battles with, Cody Steele before they're, super important. You know what I mean? I feel like he's already had the, have you seen the movie Warrior? At the end of Warrior, where he's got to fight his brother. He's had
one arm just freaking.
Yeah, he's had his Warrior moment already. Where it's like, man, I already did that. I'm done.
Oh, that's right. William fighting Cody. That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I feel like maybe there's definitely a bunch of big names in there. You definitely got to circle Couch's name. Yeah, obviously, he's been out there killing it. He's been doing some of the ADCC Opens.
Elder's won it before. Elder's in there.
Elder's such a good style. If he can get to 88 and be proper at 88, because I think we saw him fight Lovato. I think he was a little small to fight Lovato. Mm-hmm. But if he's on his weight and there's no issues there, I think Elder is really tough to beat.
Good wrestler.
In this specific weight class.
Who did Couch lose to last year at East Coast Trials? He ended up getting 3rd, right?
Bodoni. East Coast, he lost to Bodoni, then he beat Salter in the 3rd place.
Yeah, he had a great East Coast Trials. I feel like West Coast didn't have quite as much success, but...
It was right after Who's Number 1. He fought Gordon. I think he was...
Right. It was the week after he fought Gordon and everything.
Which is kind of similar story for Majid. Majid had that crazy trials quest. I don't know what else to call it, where he just kept having super sick trials runs at East Coast and then South American trials, but then West Coast it just didn't pan out for him there. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said about being fresh, like coming into East Coast trials as like the first trials. Maybe the pressure of knowing, even if I do like mess up, make a mistake, I have another go at it at West Coast. Kind of helps guys like the psychological side. I'm not sure.
Majid is on that Keith Krikorian path, right, where he always just kind of like he goes out to the guy who ends up taking the whole thing, right? It was Cade Rotolo, it was Miki Galvao. I think Roberto hit him in the second trials, and then Andy Varela, right? So it's always the guy who just like he could have won most of those matches on another day.
You guys got any other notable things from 88? Anything stand out to you?
A lot of tough guys. I think somebody you didn't name that could do really well is Sean Yadamarco.
Yeah.
To me, he's been super impressive.
I do think though you're right that Achilles Hocha brings a different element there, right? That youth in 4 or 5 rounds, I think veterancy takes it. 7 rounds, man.
Well, if you make it to the finals of ADCC trials, what would you rather be? A veteran or never get tired?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going never get tired.
Yeah.
I'm going 17 years old and I never get tired. And I actually didn't know other people got tired either. I just thought this is how
Other people get tired.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be
I'll
impressive.
throw one more dark horse while we're talking about it, Dory. I think Dory is a really, really good style for ADCC trials.
I thought we were going to see him at
European
trials.
He was entered. He was entered.
Dang, where you at, Dory? But let's go up to the big boys now. Under 99 and over 99. Under 99, some notable names. I would say Joe Durkeisen, Braylor Grout, Devontae, Adam Bradley in at under 99. And then over 99, we got John Hansen, Damon Ramos, and Pat Shingoli, the adult slate.
Big Dan
as well. Yep. So that kind of throws – it makes plus 99 a lot more interesting now that Big Dan is in.
Like, we just saw Big Dan lose in a way that, like, I feel like John Hansen can replicate that, right? Like, what could, because I feel like John Hansen does a lot of similar things to Heike, but just like a little better wrestler.
And it's not the first time Dan has lost that way, so I'm sure that for the next 30 days he'll be patching that up, right? Because that was the same way, very similar to the way he lost to Kyle Bame in the West Coast Trials finals last year. Or a couple of years ago now, but very similar looking, right? Just a bad guard pull, kind of put him in a negative territory. He had to wrestle from there, and way harder to fight out of that hole if you created it yourself.
Dude, I'm excited to see the adult Slayer in the mix.
Yeah.
Pat Shigoli. I don't know if he gets tired or not, to be honest, but that's a young dude who likes slaying adults. So I mean, sounds like this is perfect for him. But that could be an interesting one. I do think John Hansen is going to be super hard. Hard test for Big Dan if they cross paths. John Hansen's a beast, dude. Unreal.